if you were given a budget and the opportunity to create your own school, you can do anything you want. You think of it maybe like charter school, private school, very little regulation, but you can get whatever kind of facilities you want, whatever kind of staff you want. What to you would be an ideal school?
First, and I think this is really important, I don't believe that there is an ideal school or model for everyone. I think the ideal school has to start with the students and who's coming to school. So the ideal school starts with students who are well-fed, safe, hopefully loved, and at its core, that's what creates an ideal learning situation and school is the kids that are coming there. And, I think that's such an important point, is to back up previous, to thinking about how are we going, what are we going to do and how are we going to organize the school? Having said that, I do think there are some things that are, then important sort of about school. I think access to faculty and opportunities is key. I think a school that focuses on what students are really going to need to be voters, to be citizens of a democracy. That's really the thing I keep in the front of my mind when I'm thinking about what should a school look like? What should we be teaching? How should we be teaching it? And I think there are some colleges that are doing that really well. One that comes to my mind, I've always really liked is the College of Worcester. Are you familiar with
I'm not.
Is that right? Yeah. So, just to try and tie everything together, it's not a highly ranked college. It's a liberal arts college in Ohio. They're not necessarily focused on all the students with the best SAT scores. But one of the things that they do is they have a 4-year curriculum that includes a long-term research project similar to the one that Princeton University does. They sort of modeled their curriculum, so to speak, a little bit on that. And what happens there is that students come in, and by sophomore year, they're already, when you talk to them, they're saying how much they've grown as a person, how different they are. And by the time they're actually graduating, they've done such incredible things and are moving on to careers in grad schools similar to the students who attended, some other more selective or prestigious colleges. And so that's always something that has stuck with me when I visited that school. There's another college I really like, which is St. John's College. Have you ever been or thought about
St. John's in New York? There's a couple St. John's.
Yeah, no, actually in Maryland.
Okay, yeah, I've not been there, but I've helped a couple kids with applications in the last couple of years.
I think what's really interesting there and sort of ties into what a ideal or good school does is it's about the questioning and the Socratic method and teaching students to think critically, and also with a moral and ethical compass and component to it. And I think that's, they call their seminars, the instructors are like tutors or mentors or precepts. And I think their model works really, really well. And, it's not for everybody, but I really like the great books model that they have there.
So, yeah, I mean, and that things like that, like having a project that functions as a through line and kind of connects things, mm-hmm. or going big picture and thinking about developing the person. I think that's nice because it means you don't have to throw away the traditional model entirely, but it means mm-hmm. that you can make that model work for a bigger purpose than, checking the boxes. I've taken X number of classes in each subject area. Like when you have that mm-hmm. opportunity to do the seminars, to do free discussion, or to create an independent project, it means that the student gets to synthesize it and find what matters to them. And that's a process that sticks with you through your lifetime. Whereas if you were to take the independent classes without those connection points, I don't know that it has the lasting impact, because you didn't do anything with it, so to speak. And so, yeah, I think that could be really cool. we're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. I got a couple rapid fire questions, and in rapid fire, I mean, I was literally, I was thinking about a couple things that are just going on, I guess, with changes and with applications and the rest. Do you believe that any potential changes we're going to see with online school or with the blended models of some classroom, some online, the changes in admissions, et cetera, do you think that any of this is going to have a long-term impact on higher ed? Like, is college going to be different in 5 years because of what we're doing this year and next? Or do you think that everybody's going to hurry back to business as usual?
I hope it's going to be different. I think it's going to be different. I think what we've been talking about for the last hour is what we saw with so many schools, University of California's whole system, de-emphasizing the tests, saying that they're actually not going to go back to the test. And I think, we're seeing just in this year, a lot of schools going that way. And I think it's going to have an effect where the character strengths that we're talking about are really going to be more at the fore of education in its broad sense. And that's going to allow high schools to do sort of some different things that aren't so focused to the test or to the grade. And I think that's going to be really positive for higher education.
Certainly hope so.
I think there are a lot of schools doing some very interesting, experimenting with some interesting things. So while I don't have a crystal ball, I think education is going to change for the better as a result of this. And I think students, the class, if I was going to leave, the class of 2021, class of 2020 has got a lot of hard things happening for them right now. But in terms of for them and 2021, if it's possible to reframe this as, this is an opportunity to become what I was meant to become. Yes, it's difficult and it's hard and there's a lot of things that are unfair. But I think if this is sort of reframed to be, let's challenge the colleges now to really put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, and judge on those character strengths rather than rely just on the numbers. That's going to be positive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, we all have opportunity for change here. And I hope that change comes in good ways. As you pointed out, we can challenge the colleges. Both public and private schools have serious economic concerns with enrollment. And I think that that's one of the reasons right now that you have a lot of schools saying that they have every intention of opening in person this fall, even if they secretly know that that's not likely, or that they're going to do a blended, 30% classroom, 70% online, whatever it may be. But more universities than not are telling students we're going to be in school. And I think that some of that's optimism, and that's fine. I think that some of that is protecting themselves, because if they say we're not doing this, I think that they're going to have a lot of kids who are going to, choose the gap year. They're just not going to be there. And I think financially, this is going to put a lot of pressure on higher ed for the next several years, not just for the next one. I don't know if you've done a reading or, about any of this. Do you foresee, how do you foresee like the financial impact? Like, do you think we're going to see a lot of schools closing? Do you think we're going to see changes in tuition? I mean, right now, as a corollary, right now you would think health insurance companies are getting killed on everything going on, but their stocks are actually like way up. And the reason is not, they are losing money now, but they're privately holding meetings. So there's already talk of 40%, premium hikes next year. They're like, don't worry, we're going to get the money back out of this. And then those rates stay up in the future. Like, we're not going to lower them back down. And so in the long term, health insurance companies are going to cash in. I think colleges might be going the opposite direction here. Do you see an impact on the number of universities in operation? Do you think this is going to change tuition? And I mean, obviously this isn't your job, so what's your perception of the financial piece of this?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I do think there's going to be college closings. I think we're going to continue to see that over the next several years. I think there's a lot of colleges that are in real tough financial spots. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to reduce the cost of tuition for a lot of schools. It's in my view that the situation of the cost of higher education has been out of control for a long time. And I think what ultimately is going to need to happen is at the public schools, it's going to take a lot more support. And the public is going to have to galvanize around that. And I think what we're seeing at this particular moment right now is some momentum that's ultimately going to see itself in higher education making a difference. Kind of to come back to the beginning, our 2-year colleges and our 4-year public university systems are the engine of growth to the middle class. And it's so important that those are available and accessible to everybody. And I think that, whether it's a combination of COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening right now, I think it's putting back together a broad coalition that is going to make a major impact.